All right, so of course, we are pretty much kind of, at the tail end of uh, election week. This has been a really, really long election week. I believe like it's been like at least 8 or 9 days since votes were casted, and ultimately, I think all of us are just exhausted mentally from it. I think I'm mentally exhausted from it. But of course, I think everybody knew that this thing wasn't just going to be over once the votes were casted. I believe if you've looked at how the Trump administration has operated the last 4 years, they have mostly been they've been essentially a unit that refuses to give up. So I think when you look at things, there's a lot of things that you have to also consider. But I think the most important things that we could say are two things. Number one, Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. And there isn't anybody that should feel as if that should be questioned or should be skeptical. When you look at how everything lays out in terms of the Electoral College, there is absolutely no way that you can sit there and say that Joe Biden will lose any sort of miraculous recount. Recounting a state is usually when you got a couple hundred ballots that need to be recounted and audited because you just want to make sure you want to get the right type of human accuracy. But ultimately, when it comes down to everything, when you look at, there needs to be also the other flip side of the coin, which is the second part that is completely going to be 100% true, is Donald Trump won't accept his loss in the election. And he won't accept his loss in the election, and that's what I wanted to talk about. And there's a couple big reasons why he will not accept his loss in the election. And you've seen it. You've seen him and his team refuse to accept it. You've got, Mike Pompeo talking about like, oh, we're making the transitions to the second term, and it's just not gonna happen. I don't foresee us going into a situation like we're fucking Venezuela where Donald Trump just takes the entire army and he just starts lining up, different fleets of different commanders on different cities that have mostly black people and starts to put machine guns on the street because we have way too many different types of people that believe in government and military to allow him to do so. And you will have people who will tell their commanders no. And you do have soldiers who will also say the same thing. Donald Trump did not win overwhelmingly with the military. The military actually voted, the majority of them voted for Joe Biden. So that should let you know how the military feels about Donald Trump. And I think that ultimately, when you look at things, there are three big reasons why Donald Trump will refuse to leave the White House. And it may just involve him being removed out physically, which the first one is he's been trying his best to push the entire election fraud scandal, which has got major holes in it as if it was a giant piece of Swiss cheese. A ton of people have been sharing a bunch of misinformation, a bunch of old videos that don't matter. And I think for a lot of people, like they've been really trying their hardest, especially a lot of Trump Republicans, not Republicans. They've been trying their best to kind of, completely and they've tried to grasp onto this fraud idea the same way that you had a lot of Hillary Democrats doing the similar thing in 2016. The biggest difference between 2016 and 2020 when it comes to election interference is that in 2016, you had 16 intelligence agencies that confirmed that you had outside election interference. It wasn't just somebody that propped it up and said, oh, like Russia and China are affecting our elections. No, you had actual people and agencies, intelligence agencies around the world saying, hey, you guys got. And for the United States government, that's not a position that they like to be in where they have other people telling them that they fucked up. So that's one of the big reasons why you had the election interference, but you also had it sort of, watered down so much and why you had so much of the Mueller investigation, so that this way they could make it seem like they were keeping themselves held accountable. The Mueller investigation, in my eyes, was mostly put there to kind of just be on a, yo, we're fucking watching everything from now on. That's really what it was. The United States government wasn't going to take that and then say, you know what, you're right, Hillary should have won. They would have never did that because it had been a huge indictment on the election process. So that's one of the biggest reasons why this election fraud situation in 2020 just doesn't make sense. Another reason why it doesn't make sense that there would be a mass scale of fraud in this election is because Republicans did well. like that's the part that kind of like doesn't really like doesn't register with me when people bring up election fraud. And for a lot of people, and for the people who don't vote and who've never voted and don't know what that experience is like, you know how hard is it to win seats in Congress, to retain your Senate, majority, but ultimately lose the top seat in the country to an opposing party, yet to claim fraud that's a really tough to kind of navigate, because everybody's on the same ballot. Everyone is on the ballot. There's no ballot that says, oh, this is for president, this ballot's for the Senate, this ballot's for that. No, everybody is on one ballot. So when you're voting for president, you got to put on the same ballot who you want for the House and who you want for the Senate and who do you want for your local government. There is no differentiation between any of them when it comes to handing in the ballot. The idea that people really believe that there would be a fraud of this magnitude that keeps Republicans in power but takes power away from Donald Trump is absolutely hilarious. In fact, I think the thing that's missing from this realization is that you have more Republicans who actually prefer to have their state and local legislators be of their party, but they did not like the president of the United States of America. And there are a ton of Republicans that felt this way. And for those Republicans who are in this position of watching their party, which did well, defend fraud, is that you're going to start pushing those people into a centrist position, whether you like it or not. You're going to have a lot of these people start to reconsider you as a politician. And that's why you don't see many Republicans speaking up right now. Why do you think guys like Mitt Romney is telling the president to accept the results? Why do you see state legislators who are Republicans telling the president to accept the results? Because they know that if they were to go along with this coup of saying that there was fraud, they would lose so much of their own party. And that's why you're seeing a lot of Democrats right now. They're just sitting by being comfortable about it. They're watching effectively the Republican Party rip themselves apart. And they're watching them rip themselves apart because they know that if you have Republicans who look at Donald Trump as if he is the beacon of light, that will actually split up Republican ideology. You will now have conservatism and then you will have Trumpism. And for Democrats, they're watching this and they're watching them observe this mostly because they don't want to be in a position to make the same mistake, because right now they're going through their own kind of type of ideology as well, with you have Democrats and you have progressives. So a lot of these people are just kind of chilling and sitting back. And for Democrats, they've got themselves 4 years not to end up with what's going on right now with Republicans. So when you look at that, it's so much of an internal struggle between parties. You got Donald Trump firing anybody who doesn't want to listen to him right now. And for many people, it's going to force the Republican Party to make a decision. Are you the Republican Party with conservative values, or are you the Republican Party with Trumpism? It's just what it's going to come down to. The second reason, why I feel like Donald Trump will not accept this loss and he'll do everything possible to do it, is that you have many of these Trump Republicans really just putting out fucking bribes out in the world, trying to get whistleblowers to come up forward to talk about, that they've witnessed election fraud. Here's the problem with the whistleblowing situation. Most of it is hearsay. It's not somebody who's actually observed fraud going on. It's somebody who's heard from somebody who's heard from somebody who's heard from somebody who's heard from somebody. That doesn't work in a courtroom, whether you like it or not. And I think the other thing about it is you've got, in many situations, like the USPS worker who came forward as a whistleblower, took 130 grand to talk to Project whatever its name is. But then when they put him on, when they had him in front of a judge, and they said, yeah, we would like for you to testify, and also at the same time, we want to make sure this is accurate, so we will put you under perjurement. And the fact that that kind of crossed his head is like, shit, if I fucking lie, I go to jail. And guess what? He recanted his statement. So that's why the whistleblowing situation doesn't make sense. Because when these people are talking about whistleblowing and they're going in front of microphones, there's no level of accountability. They can say what they want to say. They can say what you want them to say. But if you put them in front of a judge, then everything changes. You know, it's no different from this whole Tory Lane situation with Meg Thee Stallion. And I've been telling people for the entire summer, if Meg Thee Stallion really wanted Tory Lane to just shut the fuck up about everything, you would just indict him on charges. Now that you've indicted him on charges, I haven't really seen Tory Lanez talking so much. Same way with this situation here with the whistleblowers. A lot of them are like, oh, we hear this. We've seen this. We weren't allowed to do this. Cool. A judge says, hey, can you verify these statements? Oh, we was just playing. You see how that goes? So it doesn't really work out. And last but not least, one of the big reasons why Donald Trump will refuse to do it is because of the Southern District of New York. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I voted in this election. I didn't vote because I wanted Biden to win. I voted for the Southern District of New York because Letitia James is one of the best prosecutors that we have in New York, if not the country. And she already has litigation lined up to put the Trump family behind bars. So that's one of the biggest reasons why he will not concede, because he knows that he can't be presidential pardoned for it. He also knows that the FBI cannot interject into the Southern District of New York, and no amount of legislative or executive power can keep him from Letitia James prosecuting him. So that's why he wants to stay in the White House, because ultimately Deutsche Bank has already given their testimony to Letitia James. They've already tried to offset his debt that they have, and they will be looking to actually take his assets should that debt be defaulted upon. And Letitia James has all his tax information. So she already knows that he's lied to he's already lied about his loans. She already knows that he's lied to, the banks that he's gotten loans from. So she's just waiting her time for next spring to go right in front of 725 Fifth Avenue and to drop off those paperwork so that she can subpoena him. She's already got a testimony from Don Jr. I'm pretty much sure that she's already got Don Jr. His testimony, and is willing to already put it into the record books. And for anybody, a lot of people like to talk about how presidents tend to get abolished of their crimes. Those are like federal crimes. These are state crimes. These are totally different. Letitia James isn't going after him on federal crimes because she would get nowhere with it. You're not going to get anywhere with Bill Barr as the top FBI agent in the government. But she can get somewhere with state crimes because Bill Barr can't do shit about the state. So those are the three reasons why Donald Trump will refuse to leave office. But when he does, I just hope that they put it on pay-per-view so that I can watch it. I think it'll be great for them to pump that money back into the economy, to put on pay-per-view the former president being dragged out of the White House by Secret Service. Just me, though.